Everybody welcome Steve Asmussen and Jerry Hollendorfer. You know, I never thought my first year hosting Dawn at Oaklawn that I would be fortunate and blessed to be flanked by a pair of Hall of Famers. So this is quite the humbling experience. So Jerry, thank you for joining me. And Steve, thank you very much, because I know this is a big weekend for both of you. It's quite interesting. As you know, I was doing some homework for today. Steve is second on the list for all-time thoroughbred trainers by wins with 7,980, and Jerry is third on that list with 7,425. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the basically top two living trainers in your presence. So a big round of applause for these two gentlemen. So you're literally in the, don't scoff, you're literally looking at the top two trainers in history right now. So congratulations. And it's interesting, as yesterday, Ricardo Santana celebrated his 1,000th career victory on a horse for Steve, and there was a cake, and I said, Steve, are you going to get Ricardo? And he said, no, because I'm not that far away from 8,000 and I don't want him to get me. So that was quite interesting. By the way, first is Dale Baird with 9,445. And just a little bit ago, Jerry made a comment. He said, you know, Steve will be the one to surpass Dale.
It's the only one that has a chance.
Only one that has a chance. What are your thoughts to that, Steve?
Well, I aware what it is, and I definitely want to be that guy. We're in this game to compete and win. To be able to sit here with Jerry, I've admired him for a long time, consider him a good friend, and the one, if not the best horseman I've ever seen work. I mean, he's very inspirational to me, and I really think that we do it for very similar reasons. I think we've both been fortunate to have champions, great horses, just like, you know, the job he's done with Unique Bella and things like that. But we like racing at all levels. I think we're just very similar in that regard, and I've always looked up to him, and I will continue to do so.
Well, with those wins comes multiple training titles. Jerry won 37 consecutive training titles at Bay Meadows and 32 at Golden Gate. So pretty much the king of Northern California. So what was it that, I mean, you're an Ohio bred. What was it that brought you out to Northern California, Jerry?
I just came to California to visit friends, and I got back on the plane and got my car and went back to California, and I never left.
Just the appeal, no girl.
I knew that that was the place for me.
So with Jerry's titles in hand, Steve himself a record 17 titles at Churchill, 13 at the Fairgrounds, 11 at Remington and Lone Star, 8 at Sam Houston, and will officially, as of tomorrow, earn his 9th at Oaklawn Park. So having said all of those leading trainer titles, looking back, is it all kind of like a flashback? Does it realize that all of that has kind of happened?
You know, for myself, you know, I tend not to look at the past. You know, I want to see if I can do something today and tomorrow, and I would imagine that Steve has a similar outlook. We don't rest on what we've done, but what we might do or what we possibly could do today and tomorrow, and that's what I'm focused on today, is what I could get done today.
Now, Steve, I know that you came up in a very well-respected horse racing family. What is something that your folks instilled in you that you still carry with you today?
Well, I just know that all the success, or any of the success that I've had, is because of my parents, and just the horsemen they are and the work ethic that they have is very inspiring to me, and I just try to be an extension of what the ground rules that they put in place. And the success we've had is the best part of it for me in horse racing, is to be able to share it with my family. You know, Jerry mentioned just working on today. Our philosophy, as long as the next one wins, we'll be all right. But when you look back, the surprising thing is all the horses we ran that got beat. I mean, it's amazing because you look like, how'd he lose? I mean, you walk back like, how in the world did he get beat? How in the world did he get beat? I mean, every time you're walking over, you're planning on winning. I mean, no excuses, just planning on winning. And the surprising thing when I look back is all the ones that I did get beat.
That's an interesting way after being second in the standings.
My friend Greg Gilchrist, when he was trying to get under my skin a little bit, told me, "Do you realize how many races you've lost?" So,
that's a good friend, Jerry.
I mean, he was trying to get me, and he got me pretty good that day.
Well, now, obviously from Ohio, riding a pony growing up, you came up under some really good guys, the two other Jerrys out in California, Jerry Fanning and Jerry Dutton. What were some pieces of advice coming into the sport that they gave in you that you still go by today?
Well, most trainers, the ones I worked for anyway, they wouldn't get you aside and teach you things. So if you wanted to learn, you had to observe what they did. And I still carry a lot of the pieces of the programs of Jerry Fanning and Jerry Dutton, and especially Jerry Dutton. He would always make you work really hard, but never harder than he would work himself. So I was truly blessed to work for those two men, and I carry a lot of their ideas with me still, and have added a few of my own. So I owe a lot of my success to what they didn't teach me, but what I observed when I was working for them.
Now, of your 7,425 wins, 2,722 came with Russell Bays in the irons and had an amazing partnership with Russell Bays. What was it about him that made him the rider that he was? How did that partnership come together?
Well, when I started, when a trainer starts winning races, riders come to you and they want to ride your horses. So, I got with Russell Bays and his agent, and we just had similar ideas of, you're supposed to work hard every day. And then his sharing information with me on horses that he worked helped me out quite a bit. And we always read the form in a similar fashion. So I was really blessed to work with Russell Bays. Truly great rider. Greater than anybody will ever know.
Now, I had heard that his retirement was literally decided almost the night before the day of his last mount. Did he consult you?
No, he told me that he told me the next day, but he decided after he rode his last horse that that was it for him, and then he called me the next day and said he wasn't going to continue. So, I had to respect that position. After all the horses that he rode, and he rode over 50,000 horses. And a guy named Mike Smith told me it was impossible for a rider to ride that many horses. So that shows you how good he was.
So Jerry has a way with the fillies and has won the Kentucky Oaks 3 times, Light, Pike Place Dancer, and Blind Luck. And we all know of the superstar Songbird. And he's definitely had luck here at Oaklawn Park. Hysterical Lady in the Azeri in 2008. Blind Luck in the Fantasy in 2010. And It Is Well, which turned out to be one of the key races here at Oaklawn last year in 2017. And Jen Hoyt gave the stat just a little bit ago that Unique Bella is the 21st champion to compete in the Apple Blossom this year. Now, she's ironically a champion sprinter, but is confirmed at today's distance of 1 mile and a 16th. Now, Jerry, this is the first time that she has shipped out of California. Tell us about how that decision came to be to test the waters out of state.
Well, we had to skip our last race because we had a small problem with her, and so this was a targeted race also, the Apple Blossom, very prestigious race, and I think any trainer would want to win that race if they could. So that's why we shipped, and we were hoping that she would ship in and settle well, and she has done that and gotten over the track for only one day, but she seemed to handle everything perfectly.
You care to elaborate on the problem?
She just came up with a cough after a workout, and so we decided to skip that race at Santa Anita. We probably could have run, but we didn't want to take the chance.
So now, obviously, the weather may not cooperate later today, and the other horses in the field are confirmed over a wet track. She's never tested an off track. Is that a little bit of concern, even though, I mean, it's in her breeding, but that doesn't mean a whole lot sometimes.
Well, everybody has to deal with the track, so I'm one of the ones that has to deal with it. So if it's muddy or sloppy, and if she likes it, she'll probably run pretty well.
Now, while Jerry has a way with the ladies, Steve has his way with the 3-year-olds and has 3 chances to win his 4th Arkansas Derby. He did it in 2002 with Private Emblem, 2007 with Curlin. I'm just going to say that's one of your faves. Am I exaggerating? Okay. 2006 with Creator. But first, he sends out Harbor Lights in the Fantasy, Untrapped, and Kentucky Derby runner-up, Looking at Lee in the Oaklawn Handicap. But your 3 contenders, they have some differences, we can say. Tenfold does make his stakes debut, is 2 for 2, going 2 turns, and sired by Curlin. And it does get the 3 post with Espinoza. Interesting, I think that you did give Espinoza the mount. How did that come to be?
Well, I gave Ricardo the choice between Combatant and Tenfold. He's rode both of those horses in all their starts here, and he did choose to stick with Combatant. And for Tenfold, he's a big, tall, long-striding colt, and I think Victor's a great fit for him as far as the horses broke really well in both of his races. Just kind of a free-running horse, and for him to do his best, I think that's will suit him.
Now, Dream Baby Dream already has 20 points earned so far after a second in the Sunland Park Derby at 1 1/8, and he comes well from off the pace, 4 post with Contreras. Now, Combatant that he was referring to, 22 points, multiple graded stakes placed, 2nd in the Southwest, 3rd in the Rebel, comes from off the pace, the outside 9 post with Santana, and as he mentioned, Ricardo chooses to ride him over those other 2. So it's interesting that Ricardo chooses to ride Combatant, but you yourself have talked about Tenfold having a lot of ability.
Well, Tenfold being 2 for 2, being undefeated, that's all, fun. But obviously, considerably deeper water for us Saturday. It's not the group that he had beat the first 2 times. So, but him being a son of Curlin, and I'm definitely a continuing dreamer, and want to keep that up. With Combatant, he's hasn't drawn well the whole meet. Yeah, he was 1 of 5 in the Smarty Jones, but in both the Southwest as well as the Rebel, he had outside draw, just like he does Saturday. But at 1 1/8, we got a little longer run to the first turn, so hopefully he won't be jeopardized as much as that we feel that he was in his last 2 races.
Now, with the other horses having come in, is there anybody in that field that you've seen that, ooh, this horse is training really well, I'm liking the way this horse goes? Is there anybody that you think may be a potential threat in there?
More than a threat. I think Magnamoon's a deserved favorite, and it looks as good as any 3-year-old I've seen all year. His run here in the Rebel, in just his 3rd lifetime race, was visually impressive, and I think he looks better on the racetrack this week than he did when he was here last time.
Now, it's interesting, as I mentioned, Ricardo Santana earned his 1,000th yesterday on a Gary Mary West horse on Westfest, appropriately named, I guess you could say. And then his 1,001st with Matoli. Super impressive gate to wire in the Bachelor to kick off that racing festival of the South. 108-2 to stop the clock. You're just a couple of wins away from 8,000, probably on target, given the rate that you're winning races later this month, early next month. What goes through your head, Steve, when you hear 8,000? I mean, is that, did you think?
Only 1,445 to go. To catch Dale. I mean, it's impossible not to know what's out there. So you just
skip over the 8,000.
Honestly, if you're going to do all this, you would definitely want to end up on top. You know, to get close and come up short now, not in the plans.
Hey,
So you're just going to skip
believe
over
me,
it.
he won't come up short. And Steve's the only person alive that can beat Dale Baird. So unless some other real good guy comes along, then Steve's going to be the one to end up on top. I'm pretty confident about that.
So now both of you are. What goes through your mind when you hear the voice of approval from Jerry?
Like I said, I've been fortunate to know Jerry for a while now, and he's very inspirational to me. I mean, Richard Hazelton and Jerry Hollendorfer are two people that I grew up that just like winning, are good at winning, are unbelievably competitive. They work hard. They just, in this game, you're going to have bad days, just bad days. And that just makes them get up earlier and work harder, and they're just really consistent. Obviously, I've known of Jerry for a long time. First time I ever got to observe him was at Arlington when he came back there 15, 20 years ago or something, and just his attention to detail, how meticulous he is. I mean, and he just never gives up, and he just keeps moving forward, and it's very inspirational to me. I've been blessed with tremendous opportunities, and I want to make the most of them, and we just, we're going to continue to do that. But it's great, but my admiration for Jerry goes back a long ways.
Now, Jerry, it's interesting. You seem to have, obviously, as I mentioned, a way with the fillies, but yesterday I was told Blind Luck was a little bit hesitant to go into the starting gate when she schooled yesterday morning, and you walked over to her, and she immediately calmed down.
I think she was going to go in there anyway, but I just went over to take a little bit closer look. The boys did a good job of loading her yesterday. She's a little bit funny about going in, but once she gets in there, she seems to come out pretty good. So we'll let Mike handle her today and see if he can get her to do what he wants.
Yesterday, during the fourth race in the afternoon, she came into the paddock to school, and when the horses leave the paddock to run, obviously the schoolers stay in the paddock. She was walking around the paddock, and when the race was running, she could hear track announcer Vic Stauffer. She got a little more on her toes, a little more excited, and Jerry commented to me, she hears the running of the race. She was a little amped up, and it was interesting to see just Jerry's eyes kind of light up during that time. And when they put her in the stall, she wasn't too sure about heading in, so they backed her in, and I watched Jerry walk down, and he put his hand on her head, and she immediately lowered her head. And just the bond that I saw, and I took a really cool picture, and I posted it on Twitter, and just to see the bond that you have with her, and it's almost like she was saying, Dad's here. I can relax now. But it's just the bond that you have, obviously, with the fillies. What is it about the connection that you have between the fillies? Because some trainers are known for their turf horses. Steve's obviously has that with the 3-year-olds. You just have that thing to just get them ready for that level. What is it about you with the fillies?
Well, I've just been lucky enough to have people send me good fillies. We've had some really good colts also, but I've just had more owners send me fillies, and I think that's just how it came out in the mix. Although I'm happy to train colts also. So we all get a different mix of horses. I've just had more fillies than most people probably.
Now let's discuss Songbird, because I had Gary Stevens as a guest earlier in the meet for Dawn at Oaklawn, and we were discussing the stretch run between Songbird and Beholder. Talk me through the stretch run of that just unbelievable race, because Mike Smith on Songbird, Gary on Beholder, and Larry Colmus called it at the wire, and it was probably one of the hardest stretch runs ever fought in a race. And what were your thoughts about that one?
Well, when Gary came to Mike on his horse and we were running down the lane, I knew Songbird wouldn't give up, but at least I felt that she wouldn't, and she didn't. And they just fought all the way to the wire. It was a bob at the wire. And so when they were asking me afterwards about how I felt about that, I told the reporter that it took a champion to beat a champion, and that's how I felt about it. We never lost any confidence in that horse at any moment in time, and she always gave everything that she had. So it was a tough beat, but Steve's been there. I've been there, and all the rest of the guys that are training will be there too on some of those races. So this just happened to be in the Breeders' Cup, an inopportune time to be beaten a nose, but I was proud of her nonetheless.
Now she's in foal now, correct?
She is, to Arrogate.
And that's going to be a superstar baby in the making.
Well, we hope
Hopefully.
so. You know, everybody hopes so. You breed the best to the best and see what happens. And you know, I hope she produces a lot of runners in her broodmare career.
So, Steve, how much pressure? Because I remember talking to you last year when you were getting ready to send out several in the Kentucky Derby. It's got to be stressful to send one to the Kentucky Derby, much less several. Is it stress on stress on stress, or is it just the same whether it's one or two or four?
The Derby's such a unique event as well as a race, and it's just it's that horse's one chance. And you know, we've didn't think we could lose with Curlin, and he was third, and then I thought that our best chance was the Gun Runner Creator year because both of them such quality horses with complementary styles, and then we've still not won the race, and our best two finishes were with long shots like Nero and Looking at Lee. So it's definitely on the bucket list, and we're expect it to happen, and we're given so many wonderful opportunities with quality, as you mentioned, 3-year-olds. That we feel like it's in the works. This year it appears to be a little taller order than most. You know, we have some very solid 3-year-olds, but it's an unbelievably deep year, and but we'll keep trying.
Is there anybody that you think just stands out because now you've got horses like Mendelssohn and Gronkowski that are literally off the beaten path coming from overseas, and you know they're kind of not normal to the equation?
I got extremely strong opinions, but
oh, please tell us. When have you been one to hold your tongue?
But at this point, I don't want to give them. I'm not going to give them any credit. Like I said, I think it's a tremendous class of 3-year-olds, and there's still a lot of training to be done the last 3 weeks, as well as tomorrow's race here, as well as the Lexington. So things with horses at that level can change in an instant.
Now, part of both of your success is due to long-time assistance. Jerry, tell us about some of your crew that has been with you a long time, because that's part of the backbone of the success.
Well, right now we have Don Chatlos at Los Alamitos, and doing a great job. I have Dan Ward that's been with me for many years at Santa Anita, and I'm the kind of guy, I like to give a lot of rein to the people that work for me and let them make decisions. And I have Janet Hollendorfer in Northern California and Juan Arriaga, and I like to let the people that are working for me make decisions, and a lot of the decisions are important ones, and picking races and helping train the horses and everything. And Steve will tell you the same thing. If we didn't have people helping us, we wouldn't be doing any good at all.
And Steve, you've also had longtime assistants and even named one of your 3 sons after those assistants.
Yeah, no question about that. As you mentioned, my middle son, me and Julie's middle son's name is Darren Scott, after Darren Fleming, who's the assistant here, and Scott Blasey, obviously. It was.
Did you know that, Jerry?
But
I didn't, but I like it.
Darren, if anybody's been to the races at Oaklawn, they're very familiar with Darren and his longtime association with us, and just all the success we've had here. And he is. I honestly, wouldn't want to train horses without Darren and Scott. I mean, they're family. It's
literally
the experiences that we've had, highs, lows, just that we've went through together in racing. It's impossible to explain just how much. How close you get through it, going through the battles together. But Darren, and when when Julie was pregnant with the second child, the first child with names is named Keith James after my dad and her dad. So when Darren found out she was pregnant, the first he started calling it Darren Scott, and then from the time he found out she was pregnant, and obviously Darren first since he came up with it, and then. Delivery, everything went well. Julie delivers a beautiful baby boy. I walk outside to let people know. And my mom followed me out, and she said, "Are you really going to name it Darren Scott?" And I said, "Absolutely." She goes, "Well, what if you have a falling out with him?" I said, "Well, Texas will just have another Bubba."
Well, what? Did you really? Well, one thing that they both have in common, in addition to longtime faithful assistants, is the very strong women behind them. Jerry's longtime wife, Janet, and Steve's longtime adoring wife, Julie. And that is one thing that makes these men just as strong and successful as they have been throughout. And they have stood by them through thick and through thin. And they're very thankful for them.
I am.
You better say yes.
If Jerry was put into the Hall of Fame and stuff, and he mentioned Janet. I mean, it's quite. Anybody who knows him knows is that where he gives all the credit, and deservedly so. And for me, it was Julie put us all together. I mean, when we started dating, I believe in '95, and I've known her my whole life. My mom and her mom went to school together, so she knew what she was getting into. Free will, God bless her. And then we first started in '95 was the first year that I won 100 races and $1 million. So I don't think that it's coincidence. And with her battles, she had a struggle with cancer a few years back. Never a why me. Those things are inspirational.
I remember when y'all were dating, and she was still a flight attendant, and
that's right. Yeah,
she's a strong woman.
My wife was a flight attendant for Delta for 19 years, and she was 3 days on, 3 days off, and my dad said that was the only way anybody could put up with me.
Amen. That's a strong woman right there. So thank you. I am truly blessed, and I feel like I've come a long way in my career to be sitting next to the top two men in the best industry in this world. So, Steve, thank you. Jerry, thank you for what you have done for the sport. And I truly am blessed to be sitting here in greatness. So thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to all the fans, because without you guys coming out here and supporting us, we wouldn't even have a job. So thank you very much for being here.
Good luck today.
Exactly with what Jerry said. Nancy is sitting here between us, and the one thing I want to point out, definitely with me and Jerry, me feeling like I know him and stuff, we've been racing at any level they let us. And for you to say that, you feel honored to sit here, if we weren't heralded or in the Hall of Fame, we'd be standing on the apron rooting on a horse.
That's awesome.
Might even be out there cleaning stalls again. Never know.
Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for some amazing Hall of Fame gentlemen.